She escaped her toxic marriage and boarded a plane, unaware the man beside her was a mafia boss. It has been 6 months Sophia has planned to leave her toxic marriage, but the thought of surviving weighed her down, leaving her to endure the pain and beating. The clock on the kitchen wall had a cruel way of ticking, like it was keeping score of every second Sophia survived. In 6 months, she had learned the rhythms of her husband's rage, the way sailors learned the moods of the sea. The slam of the gate that meant his day had gone badly. The scrape of shoes on tile that told her whether drinks had already lit a fuse. The false softness of his voice when he called her darling before the storm. 6 months of slipping coins into the lining of an old purse. 6 months of counting, recounting, and recounting again like prayer beads. 6 months of waiting for the perfect moment to disappear. Before we dive deeper, I want to know, where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? It amazes me how far these stories travel and how many hearts they touch. So pause for a second and hit that subscribe button, because this story might just be the one that changes your day. Today was that moment. Marcus had left for his business trip to Chicago. Sophia had exactly 8 hours before he'd check in, before he'd expect her voice on the other end of the phone telling him dinner was ready even though he was states away. 8 hours to become a ghost. She moved through their penthouse apartment like a shadow, taking only what could fit in a single carry-on bag. 1 pair of jeans, 2 shirts, underwear, her sister Emma's photo, the envelope of cash she'd been hiding for half a year. Her hands shook as she packed, adrenaline flooding her system like electricity through water. Every sound made her jump. Every car door slamming outside made her heart stop. Was he back? Had he figured it out? Was this the moment he'd burst through the door and kill her for daring to even think about leaving? But the door stayed closed. The apartment stayed silent. And Sophia kept moving. The taxi to JFK Airport felt like driving through a dream. Everything seemed surreal, like she was watching herself from outside her body. The driver asked if she was okay. She'd forgotten about the bruise on her cheek, the one Marcus had given her 3 days ago when dinner was too cold. She pulled her scarf higher, mumbled something about walking into a door, avoided the driver's eyes in the rearview mirror. JFK was chaos. People everywhere. Families laughing. Business travelers rushing. Children crying. Normal people living normal lives while Sophia felt like she was drowning in the middle of a crowd. She bought a ticket to Miami with cash. Didn't matter where she was going. Just mattered that she was going. That she was putting distance between herself and the man who'd turned her life into a nightmare. Her phone buzzed. Her heart stopped. Marcus. Already. She checked the time. Only been gone 2 hours. He wasn't supposed to call for 6 more hours. Something was wrong. He knew. Somehow he knew. The text message made her blood run cold. Where are you? 3 words. That's all it took. 3 words, and she was right back in that apartment, right back under his control, right back in hell. Her hands trembled as she typed a lie. At the grocery store. Forgot we needed milk. The response came instantly. Liar. The security footage shows you left with a suitcase. You have 1 hour to come back, or I will find you, and you will regret being born. Sophia's legs gave out. She collapsed into an airport chair, her whole body shaking, tears streaming down her face. He knew. He'd been watching. Of course he'd been watching. Marcus always watched. Always controlled. Always knew. Another buzz. Another message. This one was a photo. Emma. Her sister. Marcus standing behind her in what looked like a coffee shop. The message below it was clear. Come back or she pays for your mistake. No. No, no, no. Not Emma. Emma was all she had left. Their parents died when they were teenagers. Emma raised Sophia. Sacrificed everything for her. And now Emma was in danger because Sophia had dared to want freedom. But Sophia couldn't go back. Going back meant death. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But eventually. Marcus's rages were getting worse. The beatings more severe. Last week he'd choked her until she passed out. She'd woken up on the kitchen floor with his footprints bruised into her ribs and no memory of how she'd survived. Going back meant dying slowly. Staying meant Emma might get hurt. There was no good choice. Just terrible options and impossible decisions. The boarding call for Miami echoed through the terminal. Sophia stood on shaking legs, grabbed her bag, moved toward the gate like a zombie. Her phone kept buzzing. Message after message. Threat after threat. Photos of Emma at work. Emma getting into her car. Emma walking into her apartment building. Marcus had people following her sister. had probably had them following her for months. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. He'd known she'd try to leave eventually. He'd prepared for this moment. Sophia boarded the plane in a daze. Found her seat. 14B window. She pressed her face against the glass and watched the ground crew loading luggage, her mind racing through scenarios, through options, through any possible way to save both herself and Emma. A man slid into the seat beside her. 14A. Sophia didn't look at him. Didn't care who he was. Her entire world had narrowed to the phone in her hand and the messages that kept coming. I'm at Emma's apartment right now. Last chance. The man beside her shifted. Spoke. His voice was deep, controlled, the kind of voice that expected to be listened to. You're in trouble. It wasn't a question. Sophia finally looked at him. Really looked. He was older, maybe mid-40s, with dark hair graying at the temples and eyes that seemed to see everything. He wore an expensive suit, carried himself with the confidence of someone used to power, and was staring directly at the bruise on her face with an expression that looked like barely controlled rage. Sophia's instinct was to lie, to brush it off, to protect Marcus like she'd been trained to do for 6 years. But something about this stranger's face stopped her. Something about the way he was looking at her, like he actually saw her as a person instead of property. I walked into a door, she whispered, the lie automatic. No, you didn't. His voice was flat. Final. Someone hit you. Recently. And whoever's texting you is threatening you. I can see it on your face. Sophia's phone buzzed again. She looked down. Another photo of Emma. This time Marcus was closer. Right behind her. His hand visible reaching toward her shoulder. 5 minutes. Then I touch her. Sophia made a sound between a sob and a gasp. Her hands were shaking so badly, she nearly dropped the phone. The man beside her moved fast, his hand covering hers, steadying it, his eyes scanning the message before Sophia could hide it. His expression changed. Went from concerned to absolutely deadly in the space of a heartbeat. When he spoke again, his voice had dropped to something cold and dangerous that made Sophia's survival instincts scream warnings. Who is he? My husband, Sophia choked out. I left him. He's threatening my sister. He's going to hurt her because I ran. I have to go back. I have to. You're not going anywhere. The man pulled out his own phone, typed something fast, hit send. What's your sister's name and address? Sophia stared at him. What? Who are you? Why would you? Answer the question. Not harsh. Not cruel. Just absolute authority that made her brain short-circuit and obey. Emma Richardson. 2847, Park Avenue, Brooklyn. The man made another call. Spoke in rapid Italian to someone on the other end. Sophia caught words like immediately and protection and handle it. He hung up, looked at her with those penetrating eyes. Your sister will be safe in approximately 8 minutes. I have people closer to her location than your husband is. They're better at their job than whoever he hired. She won't be touched. Sophia felt like she was having an out-of-body experience. Who are you? The plane was taxiing now, moving away from the gate. Her phone buzzed. Marcus again. Time's up. But before Sophia could panic, another message came through. Unknown number. A photo. Emma walking into her apartment building flanked by 2 large men in dark suits. Safe. Protected. Another message. Situation handled. Subject secure. Awaiting further instructions. Sophia looked at the man beside her. Really looked. Saw the expensive suit that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. Saw the watch that cost more than a car. Saw the way other passengers gave him space, gave him respect, gave him fear. You're Mafia, she whispered. He didn't deny it. Just looked at her with something that might have been amusement. Dominic Russo. And yes. Which means I have resources your husband doesn't. Money he can't match. People he can't intimidate. And a very particular hatred for men who beat women. Sophia's phone exploded with messages. Marcus losing his mind. Demanding to know who the men protecting Emma were. Threatening lawsuits. Threatening violence. Threatening everything. Dominic took the phone from her shaking hands, read through the messages, and his jaw clenched harder with each one. Tell me everything, he said quietly, and I'll deal with him. The plane leveled off at cruising altitude, and Sophia felt like she was floating between 2 realities. One where she was Marcus's prisoner forever, and one where this dangerous stranger sitting beside her might actually be her salvation. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She twisted them in her lap, watching the bruises on her wrists turn purple under the cabin lights. Dominic hadn't stopped watching her. His eyes tracked every flinch, every tremor, every sign of trauma written across her body like a roadmap of pain. He'd seen plenty of violence in his 43 years running the Russo family operations. He'd ordered it, witnessed it, sometimes delivered it himself. But there was something about violence against women that triggered a rage in him that went deeper than business, deeper than territory, straight into something personal and unforgiving. Sophia finally started talking. Once the words began, they poured out like water breaking through a dam. She told him about meeting Marcus 6 years ago when she was 23 and stupid enough to think his jealousy meant love. Told him about the first time Marcus hit her, how he'd cried afterward and sworn it would never happen again. How it happened again 3 days later. And again until the apologies stopped coming and only the fists remained. She told him about the isolation. How Marcus made her quit her job, cut off her friends, monitored every phone call and text message. How he controlled the money, the car, the apartment security codes. How she became a prisoner in a gilded cage, a billionaire's wife who couldn't afford to buy her own freedom. She told him about Emma, her younger sister, the only family she had left. How Marcus used Emma as leverage, threatened her constantly, made sure Sophia knew that leaving meant putting her sister in danger. How that threat kept Sophia trapped for years longer than fear alone ever could. Dominic listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with every word. When Sophia finally finished, her voice hoarse and her face wet with tears, he handed her a handkerchief from his pocket and pulled out his phone again. He made 3 calls in rapid succession. The first was in Italian, his voice clipped and commanding. Sophia caught words that sounded like surveillance and financial records and everything you can find. The second call was in English, to someone named Vincent, ordering a full security detail and safe house preparation. The third call was to his lawyer, a man named Gregory Chun who apparently specialized in cases that never saw the inside of a courtroom. When he finished, Dominic turned back to Sophia. His voice was gentler now, but still carried that edge of absolute authority. Here's what's going to happen. When we land in Miami, you're not going to a hotel. You're coming to one of my properties. It's secure, private, and your husband will never find it. Emma is already being moved to a similar location in New York. My people will keep her safe until this is resolved. Sophia's mind was reeling. Why are you doing this? You don't know me. This isn't your problem. Dominic's expression hardened. I watched my mother get beaten by my father for 15 years before she finally had the courage to leave. I was 12 years old and powerless to stop it. I swore that when I had power, I'd use it to protect women my father would have hurt. So yes, this is my problem. Because I choose to make it my problem. Sophia's phone buzzed again. She flinched, expecting another threat from Marcus. But it was Emma. Calling, not texting. Sophia's finger hovered over the answer button, terrified of what she might hear. Dominic nodded permission. Sophia answered with trembling hands. Emma's voice came through panicked and confused. Sophia? What the hell is happening? There are men outside my apartment. They won't let me leave. They won't tell me anything except that I'm in protective custody and you're safe. Are you safe? Where are you? Marcus called me screaming about how you ran away and... Emma, breathe, Sophia interrupted. I left Marcus. For real this time. I'm safe. The men protecting you. They're with someone who's helping me. You have to trust them. You have to stay where you are. Who's helping you? Sophia, you're scaring me. Sophia looked at Dominic. He held out his hand for the phone. She hesitated, then handed it over. Emma Richardson. Dominic's voice was calm, professional. My name is Dominic Russo. Your sister is under my protection. So are you. The men outside your apartment work for me. They will keep you safe from Marcus Blackwood and anyone he sends. You will be relocated to a secure property within the hour. Pack essentials only. My people will handle everything else. There was silence on the other end. Then Emma's voice, small and scared. Are you Mafia? Yes. Another pause. Is my sister safer with you than she was with Marcus? Infinitely. Okay. Emma's voice strengthened. Okay. What do you need me to do? Dominic gave her instructions, short and precise. Where to go, who to follow, what to bring, what to leave behind. When he hung up, he handed the phone back to Sophia. Your sister is smart. She'll be fine. Sophia felt something crack open in her chest. Relief. Hope. Terror. All of it mixing together into emotions she didn't have names for. Marcus won't let this go. He'll come after us. He has money, connections, lawyers. I have more. Dominic's voice was flat, final. More money, better connections, lawyers who specialize in making problems disappear. And unlike your husband, I have actual power. Not the kind that comes from a bank account. The kind that comes from people being more afraid of disappointing me than they are of death. Sophia's phone lit up again. This time it was a call from Marcus himself. Dominic took the phone before Sophia could react, answered it on speaker. Marcus's voice came through like poison, smooth and deadly. I don't know who you are, but you've made a catastrophic mistake. That's my wife you're with. My property. And I will burn down everything you love to get her back. Dominic's laugh was cold enough to freeze blood. Marcus Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood Industries. Net worth approximately $3 billion. 2 previous wives, both settled divorces with NDAs. History of violence covered up by expensive lawyers and strategic donations. You like to hit women because it makes you feel powerful in a world where you're actually weak and pathetic. The silence on the other end was thunderous. Then Marcus's voice, shaking with rage. Who the hell are you? Someone you can't buy? Can't intimidate? Can't touch? Dominic's voice dropped to something deadly quiet. I'm Dominic Russo. And if you come near Sophia or her sister again, if you send anyone near them, if you so much as think their names too loudly, I will dismantle your life piece by piece. I'll start with your business. Move to your reputation. Finish with your freedom. By the time I'm done, you'll wish you'd let her go quietly. You're threatening me? Do you have any idea who I am? A dead man if you don't back off. Dominic hung up, blocked the number, and handed the phone back to Sophia. He'll try other numbers. Block them all. From this moment on, Marcus Blackwood doesn't exist in your world. Sophia stared at him like he was some kind of supernatural being. He's not going to stop. You don't know him like I do. He's obsessive, controlling. He'll spend every dollar he is hunting me down. Let him try. Dominic's eyes were chips of ice. I've dealt with men like him before. Rich, entitled, used to getting their way. They fold the second they face real consequences. And I'm very good at delivering consequences. The flight attendant came by offering drinks. Dominic ordered whiskey. Sophia ordered water with hands that still wouldn't stop shaking. When the attendant left, Dominic turned back to her. When we land, there'll be a car waiting. My people will take us to the property. It's a house on a private beach, fully staffed, completely secure. You'll stay there until we deal with Marcus. However long that takes. And then what? Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. Even if you protect me now, I can't hide forever. He'll wait. He's patient when he wants something. He'll wait months, years if he has to. He won't have to wait because there won't be anything to wait for. Dominic leaned closer, his voice intense. I'm not just protecting you, Sophia. I'm going to destroy him. Legally, financially, socially. By the time I'm done, Marcus Blackwood will be too busy trying to salvage what's left of his life to care about you. How? Dominic smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. I already have my people pulling his financial records, business dealings, personal communications. Men like Marcus always have secrets. Illegal activities hidden behind legitimate business. Affairs covered up with payoffs. Violence buried under settlements. I'm going to dig up every skeleton in his closet and drag them into the light. Sophia felt dizzy. This was happening too fast. 12 hours ago, she was trapped in her apartment counting coins. Now she was sitting next to a mafia boss who was casually planning the destruction of one of New York's wealthiest men. It felt surreal. Impossible. Like any second she'd wake up and find herself back in that apartment with Marcus's hands around her throat. Why? She asked again, needing to understand. Why go this far for a stranger? Dominic was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried weight that came from old pain. Because I couldn't save my mother. She left my father, but she never really escaped. He tracked her down 3 years later and killed her. Made it look like a robbery. I was 15 and powerless to stop it. I swore that day I'd never be powerless again. That I'd use every resource I had to make sure no woman suffered what she suffered. His eyes met Sophia's, and she saw something in them that looked like ancient rage mixed with determination. So when I see a woman with bruises getting death threats from her husband, I don't look away. I don't mind my own business. I step in. And I finish it. The plane began its descent into Miami. Sophia looked out the window at the city glittering below, a whole new world spreading out beneath her. A world where maybe, just maybe, she could be free. Miami heat hit them like a wall when they stepped off the plane. Sophia had never been to Florida before. Marcus controlled every aspect of their life, including vacations, which meant they only went where he wanted, when he wanted, always to places where he could maintain his image as the perfect husband. Private islands where staff were paid to ignore the bruises. Luxury resorts where Sophia wore long sleeves in tropical heat and smiled for photos that Marcus posted online like evidence of a happy marriage. A black SUV waited on the tarmac. Not at the regular pickup area, but right there on the runway like Dominic owned the entire airport. Two men in dark suits flanked the vehicle, their eyes scanning constantly, their posture screaming security. They nodded to Dominic with respect that bordered on fear. Sophia climbed into the back seat feeling like she'd entered some alternate dimension. The interior was leather and luxury, tinted windows blocking out the world. Dominic slid in beside her, and the SUV moved before the doors even fully closed. No waiting. No traffic. Just smooth acceleration away from the airport and toward whatever came next. Her phone buzzed constantly. Unknown numbers. Marcus was trying everything. Texts from numbers she didn't recognize filled her screen with increasingly unhinged messages. Promises. Threats. Apologies mixed with violence. One message said he'd changed, that he'd get therapy, that he loved her. The next said he'd kill her if she didn't come back. The whiplash between the two made Sophia nauseous. Dominic took the phone again, scrolled through with an expression of disgust. He's spiraling. That's good. Means he's scared. Scared people make mistakes. He forwarded the messages somewhere, probably to his lawyer, then handed the phone back. Keep them coming. Every threat is evidence. The drive took 40 minutes. They left the city behind, took coastal roads where palm trees lined the streets and houses got bigger and more isolated. Eventually, they turned onto a private drive, passed through gates that opened automatically, continued down a palm-lined driveway that stretched for what felt like miles. The house appeared like something from a dream. Modern architecture, all glass and white stone, perched on a cliff overlooking the ocean. Private beach below. Infinity pool reflecting the sky. Gardens that looked professionally maintained. This wasn't just wealth. This was power made manifest in real estate. Sophia stepped out of the SUV and the sound of waves immediately wrapped around her. She'd lived in New York her whole life. City sounds were her normal. But this, the ocean, the space, the silence broken only by nature, it felt like landing on another planet. A woman emerged from the house. Mid-50s, elegant in a casual way, with kind eyes and an efficient manner. Mr. Russo, she greeted with a slight accent that sounded Eastern European. Everything is prepared. Thank you, Anya. Dominic gestured to Sophia. This is Sophia. She'll be staying with us indefinitely. Make sure she has everything she needs. Anya's eyes swept over Sophia, lingering on the visible bruises, and something hard flashed across her face. Understanding. Sympathy. Solidarity. Of course. Come, I'll show you to your room. Sophia followed Anya inside, through spaces that felt more like art galleries than living areas. Everything was clean lines and expensive taste. The guest room Anya led her to had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean, a bed that looked like sleeping on clouds, and an in-soot bathroom bigger than the apartment Sophia grew up in. You're safe here, Anya said quietly, in that way that meant she knew exactly what Sophia was running from. Mr. Russo, he protects women. It's his rule. No one touches women in his organization. No one disrespects them. And men who hurt women. She made a cutting motion across her throat. They disappear. Sophia believed her. Anya left her to settle in. Sophia stood at the window watching the ocean, still unable to process that this was real. That she'd escaped. That some mafia boss she'd sat next to on a plane was now fighting her battles like some kind of dangerous guardian angel. Her phone rang. Emma. Sophia answered immediately. Oh my God, Soph, where are you? Emma's voice was breathless. I'm in some mansion in upstate New York with like 6 guards and a housekeeper who keeps feeding me, and I have no idea what's happening. I'm in Miami. In a house that looks like it belongs in a magazine. Emma, I think we're in the middle of something really big. No kidding. Emma's voice dropped. Do you know who Dominic Russo is? I googled him. Sophia, he's not just Mafia. He's the Mafia. Like runs half the East Coast kind of powerful. His family has been in organized crime for 3 generations. And you just what? Asked him for help on a plane. I didn't ask. He offered. He saw my bruises and Marcus's texts and just decided to help. Why? Sophia repeated what Dominic had told her about his mother. Emma went quiet for a long moment. So we're being protected by a mafia boss with a savior complex? Apparently. And Marcus? Dominic says he's going to destroy him. Emma laughed, slightly hysterical. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. We went from you being trapped in an abusive marriage to hiding in mafia safe houses while a crime lord wages war on your billionaire husband. This is like a movie. I know. Are we safe? Sophia looked around the beautiful room, heard the ocean outside, thought about Dominic's cold promise to protect her. I think so. I think for the first time in 6 years, we're actually safe. They talked for another hour. Emma had been told to take a leave from her job, that everything was handled, that she should just stay put and let Dominic's people work. Sophia promised to call daily, to keep her updated, to not let this spiral further out of control than it already had. When she hung up, Dominic was standing in her doorway. Sophia jumped, hadn't heard him approach. Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. He held up a tablet. My people finished the preliminary investigation on Marcus. You should see this. Sophia took the tablet. The screen showed financial records, emails, photographs, evidence of affairs with multiple women, emails to a PI firm hiring them to follow Sophia, payment records to shell companies that didn't exist, tax evasion buried in offshore accounts, and most damning, hospital records from his previous 2 wives showing injuries consistent with domestic violence. He's done this before, Sophia whispered, her hands shaking as she scrolled through proof that she wasn't Marcus's first victim. He hurt them too. Both wives signed NDAs as part of their divorce settlements. Took money to stay quiet. But NDAs don't protect criminal activity. We can break them if we need to. Dominic's voice was businesslike. Tomorrow I'm filing a restraining order on your behalf. Police report documenting your injuries. Civil suit for assault and emotional distress. And I'm having my lawyers contact his previous wives. If they're willing to testify, we can build a pattern of abuse that destroys any credibility he has. Sophia looked up at him. He'll fight back. He has resources. So do I. Better ones. Dominic's smile was sharp. Marcus made a mistake thinking money equals power. Real power is knowing where bodies are buried. And I have people who are very good at finding bodies. That night, Sophia lay in bed listening to the ocean and feeling like she was floating in some strange space between terror and hope. Her phone had finally gone silent after Dominic's tech people blocked every number Marcus was using. The messages had gotten increasingly unhinged throughout the day. Threats of violence. Promises of love. Accusations that she was a whore who'd run off with another man. The classic abuser playbook cycling through every manipulation tactic in existence. But now there was silence. And in that silence, Sophia could finally breathe. She woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. Anya had left a tray with breakfast and a note that Mr. Russo wanted to see her when she was ready. Sophia showered, letting hot water wash away 6 years of accumulated tension, then dressed in clothes that Anya had somehow procured that actually fit. Dominic was in his office, a room that looked more like a command center with multiple computer screens showing security feeds and financial data. He looked up when Sophia entered, gestured to a chair across from his desk. Marcus filed for divorce this morning. Claims you abandoned the marriage and committed adultery. Dominic's tone was matter of fact. He's trying to get ahead of the narrative. Paint himself as the victim. Sophia felt ice in her veins. Can he do that? He can try. Won't work. Dominic slid papers across the desk. We're counterfiling with photo documentation of your injuries, medical records I had a doctor compile yesterday when you were sleeping, testimony from Emma about Marcus's controlling behavior, and evidence of his affairs. His divorce filing will look like the desperate move of an abuser trying to maintain control. When you were sleeping, echoed in Sophia's mind. A doctor examined me while I was asleep? Female doctor. Just photographs and documentation of visible injuries. Nothing invasive. I should have asked permission first, but time was critical. Dominic's expression softened slightly. I apologize. I'm used to moving fast and asking forgiveness later. But you have autonomy here, Sophia. I'm helping you, not controlling you. There's a difference. Sophia wanted to be angry, but mostly felt grateful. Marcus would have never apologized. would have never acknowledged her right to make decisions about her own body. What happens now? Now we wait for Marcus to make his next move while my people continue building our case. He'll try to find you. Already has private investigators on it according to communications we intercepted. But this property is under a shell company that traces back to accounts in the Cayman Islands. You won't find it. You're a ghost. Sophia's phone buzzed. New number. She showed Dominic. He nodded permission to answer. Marcus's voice came through shaking with barely contained rage. You think you can hide from me? You think some criminal is going to protect you forever? I will find you, Sophia. And when I do. Dominic took the phone smoothly. Marcus. Still calling. Still threatening. Still not understanding that you've lost. His voice was casual, almost bored. Let me explain something. Every call you make gets recorded. Every threat becomes evidence. Every time you try to contact Sophia, you're building my case for me. So please, keep calling. Keep threatening. Keep showing the world who you really are. The line went dead. Dominic handed the phone back with a slight smile. He'll call back. They always do. Can't help themselves. 3 weeks passed like living in a dream Sophia kept expecting to end. Every morning, she woke up to ocean sounds instead of Marcus's footsteps. Every day, she walked the private beach without checking her phone every 30 seconds. Every night, she slept without fear of being woken by hands around her throat. It felt impossible. It felt like borrowed time. It felt like the most peace she'd experienced since she was 23 years old. Dominic was often gone during the day, handling business he never fully explained and Sophia never asked about. When he was home, they fell into a routine that felt surprisingly normal. Coffee on the terrace overlooking the ocean. Dinners where Anya cooked elaborate Italian meals. Conversations that started about legal strategy and somehow ended up being about everything else. Books they'd read. Places they'd traveled. Dreams they'd abandoned. Sophia learned that Dominic spoke 4 languages, had a degree in economics from Yale that he never used, and collected rare books about Italian history. Dominic learned that Sophia had wanted to be a teacher before Marcus isolated her, that she loved mystery novels and terrible reality TV, and that she'd never actually seen the ocean before coming to Miami despite living on the East Coast her entire life. It was dangerous. This comfort. This ease. Sophia felt herself relaxing around him in ways that terrified her. She'd sworn after Marcus that she'd never trust a man again. But Dominic wasn't Marcus. Dominic asked before touching her, respected her space, treated her like a person instead of property. And that difference was intoxicating. Emma called daily, reporting similar experiences from her safe house in New York. She'd made friends with her security detail, was reading books she'd never had time for, was actually sleeping through the night for the first time in months. The fear of Marcus reaching her had kept Emma awake for years. Now, protected by people scarier than Marcus could ever be, she finally felt safe. But Marcus wasn't done. Not even close. The lawsuit hit like a bomb. Marcus was suing Dominic for alienation of affection, claiming Dominic had seduced his wife and destroyed his marriage. The filing was public record. Within hours it was all over the news. Billionaire CEO Marcus Blackwood versus alleged Mafia boss Dominic Russo in a case that had everything. Wealth, power, scandal. The media ate it up like starving wolves. Sophia saw her face on the news. Photos Marcus had provided showing them together at charity events, her smiling beside him in designer dresses, looking like the perfect billionaire's wife. The narrative Marcus was spinning painted her as a gold digger who'd left one rich man for a richer, more dangerous one. No mention of the bruises. No mention of the abuse. Just lies wrapped in expensive legal language. Dominic didn't seem worried. If anything, he seemed pleased. He's making this public. That's exactly what I wanted. Dominic showed Sophia his counterfiling. It was devastating. Photos of her injuries with dates and medical documentation. Testimony from his previous wives who'd finally agreed to break their NDAs. Bank records showing Marcus had paid multiple women's settlements with gag orders. Evidence of threats, stalking, harassment. The filing painted Marcus not as a heartbroken husband, but as a serial abuser who'd finally met someone willing to fight back. The public narrative shifted overnight. Suddenly Marcus wasn't the victim. He was the villain. Social media exploded with people sharing their own abuse stories, expressing support for Sophia, calling for Marcus to be prosecuted. His company's stock dropped 15% in a single day. Board members started distancing themselves. Business partners pulled out of deals. Everything Marcus had built started crumbling like a sandcastle hit by waves. Marcus snapped. The attack came at 2 in the morning. Sophia woke to alarms blaring and the sound of gunfire. Her heart stopped. This was it. Marcus had found her. Marcus was coming to finish what he'd promised. Dominic burst into her room, fully dressed despite the hour, a gun in his hand that made everything feel suddenly real. This wasn't just protection. This was war. Stay here. Lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you. His voice was cold, controlled, the voice of someone who'd been in combat before. Then he was gone, moving toward the sound of chaos with the confidence of a man walking into his own domain. Sophia locked the door with shaking hands, grabbed her phone, called Emma to make sure she was safe. Emma answered on the first ring, breathless and scared, reporting similar alarms at her location, but was told to stay put, that everything was under control. The gunfire lasted less than 5 minutes. Then silence. Terrible, absolute silence that felt worse than the noise. Sophia pressed her ear against the door, trying to hear something, anything that would tell her what was happening. A knock. Dominic's voice. Sophia. It's over. You can come out. She opened the door to find him standing there, not a scratch on him, his expression carved from granite. Behind him, security personnel moved through the house with military precision. No bodies. No blood. Whatever happened had been handled cleanly and efficiently. Marcus sent people. 5 of them. Ex-military according to their gear. They made it through the first gate before my security stopped them. Dominic's voice was flat, factual. They're alive. Turned over to the police with full documentation of attempted home invasion. Marcus hired them, which means he just committed multiple felonies. Conspiracy to commit assault, attempted kidnapping, possibly attempted murder depending on their orders. Sophia felt her legs give out. Dominic caught her, guided her to sit down, his hands gentle despite the violence he'd just orchestrated. He's desperate. That's good. Desperate people destroy themselves. Dominic pulled out his phone, showed her messages already coming in from his lawyer. The police are at Marcus's penthouse right now. They found evidence linking him to the attack. He'll be arrested within the hour. He'll get bail. He has money. Not enough. Not anymore. Dominic's smile was cold and satisfied. His company's board voted him out this afternoon. His assets are frozen pending investigation into the fraud my people uncovered. His lawyers dropped him when they realized defending him meant going up against evidence that would bury them too. Marcus Blackwood is about to learn what it feels like to be powerless. The news broke at dawn. Marcus Blackwood arrested on multiple charges including conspiracy to commit assault, attempted kidnapping, witness intimidation, and domestic violence. The footage of him being led out of his penthouse in handcuffs went viral within minutes. The mighty had fallen. The abuser had been stopped. Justice, for once, was actually being served. Sophia watched the news coverage with emotions she couldn't name. Relief. Vindication. Grief for the 6 years she'd lost. Rage at the system that had protected Marcus for so long. And underneath it all, something that felt dangerously close to gratitude toward the man sitting beside her who'd burned down her nightmare with the efficiency of someone who'd done it before. The trial took 4 months. Marcus tried every legal maneuver his new court-appointed lawyers could think of. Delays. Motions to suppress evidence. Attempts to discredit witnesses. Nothing worked. The evidence was overwhelming. 2 previous wives testified about years of abuse. Hospital records proved patterns of violence. Financial records showed systematic cover-ups. Text messages revealed threats that made the jury visibly uncomfortable. Sophia testified on the final day. Walked into that courtroom wearing armor in the form of a Navy suit Dominic had bought her and confidence she'd built brick by brick over 4 months of freedom. She looked Marcus in the eye and told the truth. Every beating, every threat, every moment of terror he'd inflicted. Her voice never wavered. Her hands never shook. She was done being afraid. Marcus got 15 years. The judge called him a danger to society, a manipulator who'd used wealth and power to abuse multiple women, and declared that money would not protect him from consequences anymore. When they led him away, Marcus looked at Sophia with hatred so pure it should have burned. But Sophia just stared back until he broke eye contact first. She'd won. Finally, completely, totally won. The civil suit settlement came through 2 weeks later. $50 million in damages, paid for Marcus's personal assets before they were completely liquidated. Sophia donated half to domestic violence organizations, kept the rest in trust for Emma and any future she wanted to build. Money couldn't buy back the 6 years she'd lost, but it could fund a lifetime of freedom. Emma moved to Miami permanently, took a job as a teacher at a local school, started dating one of Dominic's security guys who treated her like royalty. She bloomed in the Florida sun like a plant finally getting enough water. Sophia watched her sister laugh again and felt something heal inside her chest. And Dominic who'd saved her without being asked. Dominic who'd fought her battles like they were his own. Dominic who'd proven that not all powerful men use their power to destroy. They were sitting on the terrace 6 months after Marcus's conviction, watching the sunset paint the ocean in shades of gold and orange. Sophia had her own place now, a small house on the beach that Dominic had helped her find, but she spent most evenings here. They'd become something neither of them had names for. Not friends. More than friends. Something complicated by trauma and gratitude, and the very real fact that he'd killed for her even if the bodies never appeared. "I'm thinking about going back to school," Sophia said quietly. "Finish my teaching degree. Maybe work with kids in crisis. Use what I survived to help others survive. You'd be good at that." Dominic's voice was warm. "You're stronger than you think." "I'm stronger than I was." "That's different." She looked at him, really looked at him. "Thank you. For everything. For saving me when you didn't have to. For destroying Marcus when you could have just walked away. For giving me my life back." "You saved yourself," Dominic said firmly. "You got on that plane. You had the courage to leave. I just provided resources. You provided everything." They sat in comfortable silence watching the sun sink into the ocean. Sophia thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago. Terrified. Broken. Convinced she'd never escape. And now she was here. Free. Safe. Building a life that belonged only to her. "Can I ask you something?" Sophia's voice was tentative. "Anything. That first day on the plane. Why did you really help me? And don't say it's just about your mother. There's something else." Dominic was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice carried old pain. "Because I saw someone who reminded me that power should protect, not destroy. Because in my world, I see too much violence, too much cruelty, and sometimes I need to balance the scales. And because when I looked at you, I saw someone worth saving." Sophia reached out, took his hand. It was the first time she'd initiated physical contact with any man since leaving Marcus. Dominic's fingers closed around hers gently, carefully, giving her every opportunity to pull away. She didn't. "I think I might be falling for you," she whispered. "And that terrifies me." "I know." Dominic's thumb traced circles on her palm. "We don't have to rush this. We don't have to define it. You need time to heal. I can wait." "What if I don't want you to wait?" Dominic turned to face her fully, his eyes searching hers for any sign of hesitation or fear. Finding none, he leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull back, to say no, to change her mind. When his lips met hers, it was gentle, careful, nothing like Marcus's brutal possession. This was a question, not a demand. An invitation, not a command. Sophia kissed him back and felt something shift inside her. The last piece of Marcus's control crumbling into dust. She was free. Truly, completely free. And for the first time in 6 years, she was choosing something for herself. Choosing this man. Choosing this moment. Choosing to believe that not all powerful men were monsters. Some of them were saviors. Sophia's story proves that escape is possible, that monsters can be defeated, and that sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places. She went from victim to survivor to victor, reclaiming her life with the help of someone who understood that real power means protecting the vulnerable. Freedom isn't just about running away. It's about finding the courage to fight back and win. If this story gave you chills, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me what you thought. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. More incredible stories coming that will blow your mind. Don't miss out. Subscribe now.